Now, since his recent appointment as Premier of the Eastern Cape, Oscar Mabuyane has made various promises to turn around the fortunes of the struggling province. And among them, the establishment of a unit that will monitor expenditure by municipalities. And this as a number of the province's municipalities struggle with governance and financial challenges. Oscar Mabuyane, the Premier of the Eastern Cape, joins us now from East London. And just a reminder, this interview is part of a series of conversations that we are having with premiers of all 9 provinces. Mr. Mabuyane, good morning and thanks for speaking to us here on Morning Live.
Good morning, Sakina, and good morning to viewers. Thank you.
Mr. Mabuyane, you take over a province that has in the past been plagued by issues of maladministration, of alleged corruption. How are you planning to change that?
Well, it's a question of us sticking to the line and ensuring that there are consequence management. Also, we put discipline to everyone who's actually been tasked, whether you are a political appointed person or you are an administrator. What is going to be important is that people understand the roles and responsibilities they have. Yes, we are getting into this 6th administration with a kind of a bit of a challenge, so to speak, that we have the issues of irregular expenditure at the local government as well as at the provincial government, issues that we must be able to deal with them and moving forward. Arrest them, you don't continue with that, improve the efficiency in the government, make government effective, at least to ensure that we serve our people and we serve them diligently. So we are coming up with that kind of an attitude to inculcate a culture of responsibility, a culture of transparency, a culture of making it a point that those who are employed must understand that they are employed to serve and earn salaries. Even those who are appointed to lead government are appointed to serve and earn salaries. It's not the other way around. You are not appointed to earn a salary and actually do your work. So we're going to stick to that and make it a point that we are clear on that one. We maximize discipline. We make government to function optimally to improve efficiency and also close leakages in the public purse. So we are here to make it a point that we rewrite the history, building on the foundation that has been laid, but also cooperating with all other institutions of government to ensure that we deliver services to our people. We are in a province that has got a huge backlog from social infrastructure, so to speak, because of the historical issues where we are coming from. We've got to improve the issue of integration and as well as coordination with other spheres of government. But here in the province, we've got to fix the functionality of government, both at the provincial level as well as at a local level. That's why our primary focus is to focus on the people. Skills revolution, we must be aggressive there to ensure that we do have capable, skilled individuals who must be able to do this, people who are fit for purpose. At the center of the mandate of this 6th administration is a very capable state that must be able to be so effective in ensuring that we create a conducive environment for the economic growth and all-inclusive economic growth to get our people opportunities to participate and be part of us moving forward as a country.
How are you going to do that? Because your reality in the Eastern Cape is that you are sitting with a number of municipalities that are struggling financially. You are sitting with a number of municipalities that have been placed under administration. You have huge problems with maladministration in your province. How are you going to turn that around?
Well, I'm not sure whether it's not a question of blowing it out of proportion to talk about huge maladministration. Well, I know we have got a challenge of local government sphere in terms of functionality. And this is what we are trying to sort out working with national government to ensure that there at that point, people are focused and we are not going to use administration to solve political problems. All those who are given political responsibilities must lead municipalities. Municipalities must comply. Local government is an overly regulated sphere of government, just like any other sphere of government. We must stick to the law And that law is not made to actually impede development. It is here to guide us, and we must work within those parameters. We are going to force discipline. We are going to make it a point that we actually work according to the prescripts of the laws that have been enacted, and make it a point that people are disciplined at work. As long as we're going to improve that, create a conducive environment for workers to work, and workers appreciate that they are a privileged few that must serve the multitudes that are out of the system, that is going to happen. And we're going to do that. For me, it's a question of discipline, and that question of revolutionary morality that has been actually lacking. So we've got to do that. We've already embarked on an exercise of reaching out to all critical stakeholders and the labor to ensure that as a critical stakeholder, they are on board, they understand where we are coming from, the challenges that our people are facing. So it's possible. Yes, these may appear to be insurmountable out there, but from where we are, they are surmountable. We are going to deal with that issue from where I am, and everything is possible. It takes that particular generation to rewrite the history, and we're here to rewrite the history, building on the foundation that has been laid from the other administration, the fifth administration. If you look at our 25-year review, it tells us that some good work has been done since 1994. We must actually push and be aggressive on that, but improve integration so that we work together and we are effective. We deal with all the other issues that are not supposed to be happening in the public space, and people stick to the line and make it a point that we make our people come first and we serve our people. Government is meant to serve people, to create conducive environment for other critical stakeholders who must come on board and participate, like your private sector, etc. So we're working with them. We're going to create that kind of dynamic relations that we need for our province to grow.
And of course, the million-dollar question, which hasn't quite been answered, is precisely how you're going to do that, because if you look at the situation of municipalities being placed under administration, that is precisely because there's maladministration. It is precisely because there is no service delivery that these things happen. You had the situation in Amatlati, for example, where May salaries were not paid. Are you able to give us an update on that situation? Because that speaks to the nub of the matter, where municipalities are not properly administered.
Poor administration sometimes lead to this, might not necessarily be the maladministration. You know, sometimes other people hide behind the laws that are there to do other things that cost our municipalities down the line. If you make an example of Amatlati municipality, it's an issue of the municipality going for a wrong grading, upward limits on grading, which has led to the municipality to be where it is today. The municipality is not sustainable. The equitable share that the municipality receives actually is lower than their salary bill. That's an issue. It's an ongoing problem. It's a perennial problem that you've got to grapple with and address. So we are looking at that in terms of how do we put up some standardizations there, applying some norms and standards to ensure that our municipalities, at least, they are operating from a same wavelength, to ensure that you don't create your own grading for your own convenience. Because if you do that for politicians as councillors, that is also going to be applicable to workers. So it's important that municipalities are limited, they work within the limits that they have. So these are things that we're trying to look at them, working with critical stakeholders at that level. We are working on the Amatlati issue, trying to correct it. It's happening everywhere. It's easy for people to look at their own material interests, immediate, a shortcut, which have got some serious repercussions down the line. So we are basically addressing that. We're putting closer, we're going to be developing a PMU at a provincial level that must look closely, put our municipalities under microscopic view. Because when they don't perform, it's no longer an issue of the municipality. It's an issue of the province. And that affects the province. Some of them, they don't even spend the money that they are allocated in terms of the municipal infrastructure grant because of capacity issues. Sometimes it's not a really issue of capacity. It's an issue of interest that we must cut out, and people understand that to serve people, you must be prepared to sacrifice. You must be prepared to be selfless. So we've got to inculcate that culture and make it a point that those critical, important values are actually built into the system moving forward. We've got to make our municipalities function Because national government, provincial government, they all meet at a ward level. This is where our people are. If municipalities are not really up to the game and are not properly shaped to actually respond to the challenges they have, we'll continue experiencing the problem that we're experiencing. But we are so determined. We're going to go an extra mile, redouble our effort to make it a point that government, from local government sphere, provincial, work, and we are going to be working in a very integrated way to ensure that services to our people are there. Our people in the province still lack basic services. Other areas in our province have not yet seen 1994. You're still looking for serious issues of water, electricity, roads, maintenance, etc. These are things that we must be able to deal with them. We must also look at that space, but key to us is to create opportunities for our people, is to grow the economy of this province, focusing, diversifying from the automotive sector, looking at tourism, more on agriculture, more on creative industry, etc., etc., but also calling national government on our catalytic projects. We do have projects that we believe that if they are perfectly implemented in our province, they will turn around the economic outlook of our province. Yom Tombo Oil Refinery in Port Elizabeth, Yom Zimvubu in Owar Tambo, your biofuel in Christiani Craydog, your N2 highway which connects KZN to Eastern Cape. These are critical catalytic projects which we believe, if they can all be perfectly implemented, working with the national government, move from these delays, this uncertainty. Because for you to grow the economy, you must invest in the infrastructure. You must make it a point that you take those decisive decisions timelessly and create this sense of policy certainty even from the private sector, so that the private sector can come on board and work with us. There's been actually people who are willing to invest, they are prepared to invest. We are at East London ITZ, as I'm speaking to you, huge investment, about 40 investors are operating here, private sector. So there's an opportunity out there. You just need government to lift up and rise to the occasion.
So, Mr. Mabuyane, in terms of that, changing that economic outlook for the province, how much do you actually need? How much do you think? Because these are some of the promises that you made in the lead up to the recent elections, that you would change the economic outlook of that province. So in order for you to fulfill that promise, how much would you need to raise, for example, from investments? Because you are on record saying that the province was sitting with a 19.8 billion rand shortfall in its budget. So how much would you need at this stage?
Unfortunately, that would be impossible to say. We need more. We need more than anything that we can think of. But we will slowly and surely address and redress the imbalances of the past. What you need here is a proper spatial development and planning from a national government to understand that there is a province called Eastern Cape elsewhere that must be integrated into the economic hub of our country, that is Gauteng. Invest in the infrastructure that seeks to improve that kind of a symbiotic relations between Gauteng and the Eastern Cape. So you need much. If you talk about roads, for instance, you need more than 60 billion to actually wipe out the kind of a backlog on roads in the province, whilst you have about 4 billion in a financial year that you must talk to the issue of the roads. That tells you we've got a long way to go. But we have started well. But what is important is that whatever liquid sand we have, it is actually put for a good use, and we see a value for every cent and a rand that we put in. We actually close the leakages in the public purse and make it a point that the government money is used to benefit our people. So you need that. Yes, there are programs from national. You talk about the eradication of mud schools. If you talk about the social infrastructure, that program is doing well, but it needs some element of review as well, so that you don't just do it for malicious compliance. We are eradicating mud schools. We are doing a lot. We are improving. We are surfacing the provincial roads, working with Sandral in the province. So there's a lot of work that is to be done, but also the connection of our tourist destination, our tourist product, making it a point that they are accessible. These are key things that we are looking at, which we, of course, will be working with the government, with all other conditional grants, interventions that are out there. What is important is provincial government to be primed, to be actually activated to respond to such kind of invitations from national. Because national will be found wanting without provincial government doing what is proper for the province as well as the local government. So we need that political will from national government, from the national leadership to ensure that Eastern Cape is taken out of what it is. We stop our people traveling between Cape Town and Eastern Cape and die on the road simply because they are looking for better opportunities. We have opportunities here. Eastern Cape can be a food basket of the entire country. If we do things right, we can put more on the agriculture primal production, but also do the agro-processing, which is going to be critical for job creation. You look at oceans economy, it's critical for our province. These are huge opportunities that, if are perfectly well looked after and implemented in a very integrated way, with a very good turnaround time, we will be able to, within these 5 years to come, build a strong foundation also moving forward. But we can't resolve these issues over the 5 years. They are huge, they are historical, they are coming from far, but we've got to address them. Our people are dying on N1, going to Cape Town. Our people are dying on N1, going to Johannesburg, dying on N2, going to KZN, looking for opportunities. Opportunities that can be found in the province. So our attitude is that let's actually turn around things, let's work differently, use government, create conducive environment. Private sector has been calling. They are ready to come on board and invest. They have shown it in investment conference of the president. They have shown it in our investment conference here in the province. We just need government to lift up and rise to the occasion. I repeat it.
And Mr. Mabuyane, I'm sure we, as well as the people of the Eastern Cape, really look forward to seeing the detailed plans of how you plan on going about this. But of course, it would be remiss of me not to ask about an issue that affects your character directly before the end of this interview. Now, there's this ongoing allegation that monies from a struggling municipality were channeled to pay for renovations to your private home. What's your response to that?
That is malicious, absolutely malicious. That was a private arrangement between me and the treasurer, who was not in government, who was in business at that time. It was unfortunate that it was blown out of proportion. I take it was a desperate attempt to tarnish my image. Then provincial treasurer was not even in government. He came into government later, and it's an issue that I've since resolved with my bank, with him. So for me, I've never been a thief. I would never be one. And I'm here to serve the people of Eastern Cape, and that's my preoccupation. We're going to deal with corruption wherever it shows its ugly head, whether it involves who perceives or real. It's an issue that we must confront. Where things like those happen, they must be explained. And I've been explaining, and I'm clear about that, and my conscience is very clear on that one. So for where I'm seated, it's an issue which for me was just used for political reasons.
Well, I'm glad you say that the perception is important, because as Morning Live, as viewers of Morning Live, in case we haven't heard that explanation, can you tell us exactly what happened and which part of it is being blown out of proportion?
The part of it's a fact that there is no such that there was money of the municipality, struggling municipality, which was used, but the details are elsewhere, but the treasurer can explain better. Mine is only limited between myself and provincial treasurer. It ends there, and that's exactly what I've done, that with my bank. I've paid back provincial treasury the arrangement that we've made, which I needed to respond to for security reasons immediately, to look at improving my security upgrade in my household immediately I was in government, without really waiting for a long procurement processes that were out there. So that issue for me is settled. I'm out of it, and I don't want it to distract me anymore. That's why I've decided with my bank, the bank which was not ready then to be able to give me the necessary loan that I had, because I was also buying the house myself through the bank as well, doing all other things with the bank. So now I've cleared the matter. It's not an issue that to me is a really big issue at all, and I wouldn't want it to distract me at all as I move forward. My focus here is to serve our people, is to make sure that government create opportunities, make our people to develop, make this province to be taken to another level.
And just a final one, report of the health ombudsman in relation to the Tower Psychiatric Hospital found that there's a general failure from the provincial health department to give support to hospitals in the Eastern Cape. What has been done in that regard?
I beg yours?
With regard to the health department and the
Can you repeat the question?
The Ombuds report with relation to the health department,
Okay.
One of the findings was that there is a general failure from the provincial health department to give support to hospitals. And I wanted to know from you what has been done in that regard and what do you intend doing beyond this point?
The health is one of those apex priorities that we have. The matter was attended to. Actually, even the report itself, the findings generally were that we were not as bad as people would have expected on that particular matter. Good work has been done, but immediately when the report was out, systems were set up to ensure that we responded to those kind of teething problems that were identified. Those issues are being attended to. We are making it a point that we clear everything around that, and we are trying to lift up. Yes, we've got challenges there. It's not going to be easy. We still have to get that system proper, get more nurses employed, doctors employed, to ensure that those who are in the employ are also not overloaded. We've got a problem of medical legal claims, which sometimes are as a result of kind of problems that are caused by people as they work. You can blame a lot of things. People are so overloaded, fatigue, also facility. We are working on that. We are an NHI pilot site. We are doing a great job there to improve the facilities. And we are also going to be rolling out employment of nurses and doctors to ensure that people are efficient at work. We minimize and really limit this problem of claims and also deal with the element of corruption on it from the syndicate that we are also observing, that we've got lawyers who seems to be really looking around into that space, thinking that they can really get something out of those kind of mistakes that are being caused. But we don't want silly mistakes.
But
this
Mr.
is a very
Mabuyane,
important matter.
Mr.
That as government,
Mabuyane,
we must deal with it.
With respect, these are not teething
Yes,
problems. And unfortunately, you cannot see those pictures, but our viewers can see them. And I'm sure you've seen them. They've been doing the rounds in the newspapers in the Eastern Cape. They've been doing the rounds on social media. You have people lying on floors, sleeping on floors. You have food that is inadequate, that is supplied to patients in hospitals. Surely those are not teething problems, Mr. Mabuyane.
Well, teething problems could be the kind of a statement I would use. These are challenges that we have. These are challenges that we are alive to, that we are not denying, that we are solving every day as we come across them, and we are making it a point that we will have a resilient system that is able to pick up these issues. We want our hospitals to function normally, get right people, CEOs, so that these kind of issues are done. When we're following the issue of catering, for instance, this issue of tender, getting the lowest bidders in terms of prices, gives us problems as well. People go and cost less when they're supposed to deliver work. They don't deliver as per the expectation because they are not ready. We're looking at those issues, the entire ecosystem, to ensure that we address this problem so that we don't continue experiencing problems like this. These are challenges, yes, I agree. And these are challenges that we are alive to and we are prepared to address. And we are actually focusing on those issues, education and health, to make it a point that we address problems that have been perennial in that kind of a system.
Mr. Oscar Mabuyane, thanks so much for your time this morning, the Premier of the Eastern Cape. And of course, we've spoken to him. We've spoken to Alan Winde, the Premier of the Western Cape, as well as Dr. Zamani Saul, the Premier of the Northern Cape. The rest of the Premiers, we will feature here on Morning Live as well. But for now, it's time for your 8 o'clock news bulletin.